Thanks for reading.
All right. Thank you so much for reading. Love you and everybody who read. Tonight, we're overjoyed to have Sean come back. Now, the first time I heard Sean share, Sean had been coming around for a couple decades, and he shared about sticking with the basics, his basics, maintenance on a daily basis. That's the first time I heard him share, and it just was so simple. It made sense. And I think it's very important, steps 1, 2, and 3, and his maintenance, what he shared. Now, I don't know what he's going to share tonight. I'm just telling you that's what he shared the first time I heard him share. So without further ado, Sean.
Yay!
What's happening, guys? So I'm Sean. I'm an addict.
Hey, Sean.
All right. There's a lot of y'all motherfuckers. This is nervous. All right. So look, I'm not going to tell y'all a whole fucking bunch of like my using shit. Like we all know how to get high and how to fuck our lives up, right?
Yeah.
For real, right? Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. The reason why NA and AA works is because of identification, right? So like, if you ain't never felt like killing yourself because you fucked up again, then you can't help me. You know what I mean? If you've never been fucking tossing and turning because you can't go to sleep because there's got to be one more hustle to keep this thing going for another day, then you can't help. If you ain't never been fucking freezing your ass off or dope sick in 811 or Virginia Beach or P-Town in the jail, then you can't help me, right? So, look, I'm skipping all the bullshit, right? I'm going to get right to it. I had 8 years over my head. I had been locked up. I've been locked up a lot, okay? I had 8 years hanging over my head, and I was on the color code. Y'all know what the color code is? Okay. All right. Well, this was back in 2004, all right? I've been clean for 19 and a half years now, right? In 2004, you were better off pissing dirty than not showing up, okay? I don't know how it is now. So I wasn't the type of guy who would like get some dope and then go home and play house and sneak into the bathroom. That's not how I did it. I disappeared. I would be gone for a couple of days, maybe a weekend, maybe a week. Sometimes it was a year. Sometimes I was like calling, from jail and I was gone for multiple years, That's just how it was for me. I had a daughter who was my everything, and I was constantly seeing her little face sad, knowing I was lying whenever I spoke to her, right? Always used to tear me up. So I had been gone for like 4 or 5 days. And eventually the dudes that I was with were like, dude, we got to take you somewhere, man. Like, we're going home. And I'm like, fuck. So I'd have them drop me off down the street, go back to the house. My chick was not a cool chick who would be like, you get some rest and then we're going to have, she broke a fucking lamp, swinging it like putting stitches. She stuck me 3 times, throughout the years. Anyways, she wasn't real stoked with me at the time, right? So she was like, your color came up today, motherfucker. I was like, son of a bitch. So I go down there and sign in on the clipboard, and it wasn't my color. It wasn't my color, but the cops were there. So Holly and my PO had tricked me to get me down there, and I'm cuffed up and I'm begging my PO, and I don't know why she did it, but she stopped writing and she reached in her desk and she pulled out a meeting list. And she tried to hand it to me, but I was cuffed up. So Holly snatched it up and she said, there's one starting in 20 minutes. That's how I found myself in the very first NA meeting I ever stepped foot in. Okay. It was a noon meeting in Lambert's Point on Tuesdays. It's not there anymore. This guy started that meeting. Y'all know Joe, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Joe's fucking awesome. I'm going to get to Joe in just a second. So I'm sitting in that meeting, and it was a massive meeting, and Holly was still pissed, and she was like, blah, 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 in my ear, and I was like, will you shut the fuck up? It was the best thing in the fucking world for me because I was willing to listen to anything they were saying instead of her big-ass mouth, right? And they were reading Who's an Addict. Y'all got our basic text, the chapter Who's an Addict? I was sitting there listening, and I was like, yo, that sounds like me. I've done that. Oh, I did that like 2 hours ago. And it was like, shit. Okay, I'm going to give this thing a try. That was basically where I was at, right? After that meeting, Joe talked a hole in my head for like 2 hours. Told Holly, hey, I'm going to take this guy. We're going to get some food. I'm going to talk to him some more. And she was still kind of like not trusting anything. She didn't know who the fuck he was, right? And dude, Joe he was on disability from the post office at the time. That guy would come from Portsmouth to Ocean View, pick me up for like every day for like 2-3 weeks, carrying me around to meetings, buying me food. I was like, dude, I don't have any money. I owe you 1,000,000 lunches. And he was like, dude, you're going to buy lunches for somebody else one day. I was like, sure, whatever. I get it. But Joe was describing to me how I felt. And for him, it was 5 years ago. But for me, it was like a few hours ago. And I was like, yo, this dude cannot be making this shit up. Because you can't make this up. You can't make up those feelings if you ain't never really felt them. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know if this is going to, like.
No, go.
Okay. Joe said, my last time getting high, I came home and everything was gone. And I laid in the bathtub and I tried to kill myself and it just didn't work. And I was like, dude, I have tried to kill myself so many times and just couldn't do it. I have like purposely fucking ripped off dope boys that I knew would fucking kill me and I'm still here. You know what I mean? Just because I didn't give a fuck. I really didn't give a fuck if I was dead or, you know, I just didn't care, you know? And then this guy is saying this shit to me and I was like, oh shit, okay, all right. He's like, but here's the cool thing, Sean. I'm not special. I just did these things and now my life is better. And so I was like, yo, I got to do these things. And I've been doing these things for a long time and now my life is better. It's a very simple fucking program. It's a very simple, but it's so fucking hard, man. It's so hard. Now, I would love to tell y'all that like my life with that girl who tricked me into recovery was awesome for some Disney story, but it's not. She didn't want to get clean. You know, she was still shooting dope and doing her thing at the house. She was the type that played house while she was shooting dope. I just couldn't do that shit. And for the first 1.5, 2 years that I was clean, I was dealing with that shit. And one day we didn't hate each other quite so much and we got another kid. And so fucking, I couldn't get away from her. I was miserable and shit, but I was still going to meetings and stuff. And then God did for me what I couldn't do for myself. She got knocked off boost and then went to the penitentiary. So I got custody of my daughters, right? And I raised the one daughter. She was 6 months old when I got custody of her. And I had her in a car carrier, carrying her around the meetings and shit. She grew up crawling around in meetings and coloring and shit with a whole bunch of other little kids who grew up in NA. They're all 18, 19, 20 years old now, right? My other daughter, the one that always used to give me that sad face that she didn't want anything. She was still pissed at me. She didn't believe that I was going to be a good dad. She wanted to live with her mom's side of the family. And I didn't, it took me a long time to make that relationship better, right? It's great now, but I mean, it wasn't back then. Eventually there's a reason why I'm saying this. I'm trying to get y'all to the steps, right? Because that's where the real shit changes us. So eventually I met this chick and we got married. But when we were dating, she comes from a very good family. Like they make Hallmark movies about her family, right? Like I have no fucking business being around her family. But when we were first dating, she was in a custody battle with her ex-husband, and the guy has a lot of money, and he hired a private investigator to dig up dirt on me. And so I was sitting in the courtroom with her mom and her aunt and her uncle and her sisters, and the guy was sitting up there just running down all of the shit that I had been doing throughout my life. And I was like, well, fuck it. I guess this was cool while it lasted. But afterwards, the woman who's my mother-in-law now, she was like, Sean, we just can't picture you doing any of that stuff. And I was like, thank you. Because that guy that was just being described, that dude's dead. That dude is dead, right? Every one of y'all have a version of that dude or that chick. That's the motherfucker that's killing you and has you in this bitch. And the way we kill that dude is with their steps. That's the gun, the wrench, the knife, the lead pipe, the rope. That's the fucking weapon that kills that dude. And I'm going to tell y'all how in a condensed version of the steps right now. Step 1, we admit we're powerless over our addiction and our lives have become unmanageable. Y'all are in a motherfucking treatment facility. Unmanageability ought to be easy for y'all, right? How many times have y'all said, I ain't going to do this shit again, and you did it again? That part ought to be pretty easy for y'all, right? It's easy to understand it in your head. But then when it goes from your head down into your heart, that's a whole different ball game. Like for me, I've been clean 19.5 years. I still know for a fact I'm never going to be able to drink just a beer or two. I'm never going to be able to just do like, let me just hit that joint one time. That's never going to be me. And I'm cool with it. I'm cool with it. That's the big ass difference in step one. Understanding it intellectually and then feeling it in your heart. When it makes that little short trip, you got something that a lot of people don't get. But it's scary because it leaves you in a place like, what the fuck am I going to do now, dude? Like for me, I was 29 and the average age of people in meetings was like 56 and shit. And I was like, I'm just going to be bored as shit for the rest of my life, I guess, right? I didn't know, everything that I knew about who I was like, I don't know who the fuck I am. That's honestly how I felt after I made that like realization in step one. But that's the hope step. Step two is the hope step, because then I looked around and people like Joe and people like the old heads that were around when I first came in, they were all happy. And I believed that they weren't like better than me. They just did the shit before me. And they told me that. And so they were like, you just do what we do, man. And you're going to get to where we're at. And I was like, cool. That's hope. That's step two. And then step three fucked with me for a hot minute because it's, we turn our lives over to God. I didn't want to hear anything about God. You know what I mean? But in the beginning, I didn't want to hear anything about God, but I believed NA as a whole thing, as a program was my God. I'm like, I'm all in. I'm pushing all chips in on NA. And it worked for me for a while, right? Step four is where real stuff starts happening. Step four is the step that has like, everybody is afraid of it. It's like where you write out your inventory. People are like, oh man, I got to write out all the bad stuff. It's the best thing you could ever do for yourself. Look, when you sit down, I'll tell you, all right, when I sat down on step 5 with my sponsor and went over my 4th step, Martin said, do you see these patterns? And I was like, what patterns? He was like, look, man, when you get in this situation, you seem to react like this. And when you feel like that, you seem to always respond like this. And I was like, oh shit. And so he was like, I want you to start watching for these patterns. And I started watching for the patterns and they were everywhere. They were everywhere. Like an example is like I was standing outside of a meeting with a bunch of dudes and there was some girls and one of them I was trying, to flirt with and stuff. And this dude cracked a joke on me and everybody was laughing and shit. And the first thing that popped in my head is smack the shit out this dude so this chick don't think you're a bitch. Or you could laugh because that shit was funny. And I was like, oh, that's one of those patterns. And I look good in street clothes. You know what I mean? So you can start doing shit differently. And then when the fucking, it starts getting to the beginning of the month and you hear the door knocking, instead of saying, everybody shut the fuck up, I could open the door and be like, dude, I know I owe you some money. I'm fucked up in the game right now, but I'm going to get you right. Dude, game changing shit, dude, where you just start doing things differently. And when I started doing things differently, I started feeling a little bit better about myself. I still didn't like me, but I felt a little bit better about who I was. At the end of the night, when I laid my head down, I was like, all right, man, you fucked that shit all up, but you weren't so bad in this and this. You know what I mean? And that's what steps 6 and 7 are about. Like addicts are like, you can imagine a computer that's so riddled with viruses that the thing doesn't even work. That's us, right? The steps, it's like a magic eraser, wipes the motherboard clean. The rest of the steps, you get to reprogram that bitch. And that's what 6 and 7. It's like, dude, these are the ingredients. Let me start putting this shit in. You're like a mad scientist and reinvent yourself and shit. I'm not so good at this. Let me try to keep this ingredient out. I'm pretty good at this. Let me get as much of this in here as I can. And that's what 6 and 7 are about. And then 8, you're like, fuck, I got to write this list of all these people. Just write the fucking list. Just write the list. The people, the amends list. Just write the list. You don't have to worry about making the amends. Just write the list. Your sponsor's going to rip up a shitload of the list anyways, right? But the best thing about step 9, when you go to make the amends, there was no shortage of people in my life who were still there like, yeah, we've heard you fucking, you're doing good, yeah, whatever. You're going to fuck up again, throw my past in my face and, make me feel like shit. Plenty of people in my life that were there to do that. What does step 9 do? Step 9 says, I go to these people and say, yo, look, I realized that I did these things, and I'm going to do everything in my power not to do those things again. And if I owe you some money, I'm going to give you as much as I can until I got you right. By the way, hey, let me get that club. You don't get to hit me with that shit no more.
That's right.
That I can give you back the club if I keep doing the same bullshit to you, but I ain't. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of step 9. And then in step 10, you're like, dude, things are starting to go pretty good. Now I need to work on my maintenance. And that's like Mr. Maintenance. That's all I talk about in regular meetings and stuff. Maintenance is fucking, you have built some shit. Like if y'all fucking build yourselves a beautiful house, you don't just ignore the motherfucker. You got to take care of it, right? And that's like, dude, I get up early. My house is quiet in the morning. I get up early and I do my prayers. I do my stuff to start my day off good. You know what I mean? If I got to be in fucking Chesapeake at 9 o'clock, I ain't sleeping until 8:15 because then I'm in a hurried rush and I'm starting my day off in a state of stress. That ain't no way to live, right? So I get up early. I do my prayers. I do my stuff in the morning and I feel good when I leave the house to start my day, right? Sometimes I got to fucking, walk away from a situation in the middle of the day and redo it all over again. With 19 years clean, I still have bad days. Everybody has bad days, right? But we learn through these steps, and this maintenance is just like slowly starting to reprogram those like that first thought in my head. Because I still have stupid ass thoughts in my head, but I try not to listen to the first stupid thought, right? And then step 11 is, man, that God that I wasn't quite so sure who he was, now I'm going to start really digging in and learning and getting a relationship with that guy and working on it every day, And then in step 12, I come and do shit like this because there is no religion on the planet that tells you to get everything you can get and then fucking hold on to it. You know what I mean? Every religion wants you to help other people, right? And you got to be an asshole to come from where I've been, find some freedom, and then not want to help somebody else. And I hope I'm not an asshole anymore, right? So that's the steps, right? So like, I don't know how they do it in here, so I'm sure we'll talk and back and forth conversation. But I suggest everybody goes to a lot of meetings. It sounds like when they were doing the readings, a lot of y'all have been to meetings before. But look, meetings take on the personality of the home group members. So you might go to one meeting and be like, dude, this is a cool ass meeting. I love this. The next night you might go to another meeting and be like, yo, I don't feel comfortable in here at all. And that's because the meetings take on the personality of the home group members, the people who put those meetings on. We are so fortunate here. There's 136 meetings a week in this area. If you add AA in, there's like 400.
Yeah.
Okay. You can find a meeting a day that you feel comfortable in. And then when you get to those meetings, show up early. Show up early. The people who are serious, because you can find anybody in meetings because we don't have any dickhead bouncers with the velvet rope saying who's allowed in and who can't. You know what I mean? Everybody can come in. Everybody can come in. That means there'll be people nodding. That means there's some people in there hustling dope. That means there's people in there just trying to get fucked. But we don't care. You're welcome to come in here until you're ready to do the work and really fix yourself, right? So you pay attention. You pay attention to who is serious about their recovery. And once you identify the people who are serious, you got to make friends with them. And we're happy to make friends with you. None of us forget how awkward it is to be in your first few meetings. You know what I mean? That shit is weird. You go in there and there's a whole group of strangers. Everybody's laughing and talking in their little groups of friends. And you're just standing there like high school again or some shit, or even junior high. And it feels weird. But we remember it. You remember it. So fucking talk to folks. And look, you got to get phone numbers. You have to, because you're going to have, what always happens is you have that first real bad day. And I don't mean like just a regular bad day. I mean a shitty, fucking terrible day. And that's like, I don't want to fucking feel like this. I know damn good and well how I'm going to feel if I drink this, shoot this, smoke this, snort this, eat this pill, whatever. Or I could do something totally different and call some stranger. I might have to call 7 people down the list before someone's available and can answer. But they're going to be happy to talk to you and pray and hope that they say something that's going to make you not fuck up that day. Like, that is truly the difference between folks who come in and get it and folks who come in and out, is how much effort you put into getting connected, man. It's a cliche thing that we beat into the ground and shit, but it's like that for a reason. Now, last thing I'm going to say, I'm going to explain the serenity prayer, because it's like it's the most powerful tool that we have. And a lot of people, I think we say it so often that it gets like overlooked. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. You can apply this prayer to big, huge problems in your life and even little tiny problems, right? So like when huge, big stuff happens in my life, I'm the calmest one in the family. Everybody is like, how are you? I'm like, yeah, I know what to do. I'm going to get prayed up. I'm going to talk to my sponsor. Joe's my sponsor. I'm going to talk to my sponsor. I'm going to talk to my support group. I'm going to go to some meetings and shit, and I'm going to be good. It's little things that fuck me up. Like, I'm ready to murder the whole house if there's dishes left in the sink overnight, right? But, yeah. But look, big ass thing, like we just got rear-ended. I just turned 50. My wife took me on a surf trip to Puerto Rico and Costa Rica. And that was rad, right? And so her 50th is in April, and she wanted to go to Iceland. I don't know why she wanted to go to Iceland. So we were going to go to Iceland, but we just got slammed into the back of us by some guy, right? In the car. And now her back is all fucked up. So we're not going to be going to Iceland. That sucks, right? And it's like she's hurt. So fucking like it sucks. It sucks a lot, right? But look, the serenity prayer says, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change. Okay, this shit sucks, but I don't have a time machine, right? So it happened. So I have to accept that it happened. The courage to change the things that I can. I can change my fucking attitude about how I feel about that thing happening, right? And the wisdom to know the difference. The wisdom to know the difference is understanding what I can control. I can fucking sit here just bang my head on the wall being angry that it happened forever and make everybody else around me upset too. Or I can be like, all right, look, this shit sucks. It happened, but we're going to get through it. And it can big shit. And also with like the dishes in the sink. It works with everything. The serenity prayer is amazing. Use that shit. Y'all are all in early recovery. You probably got family members who are fucking tired of hearing your shit. You know, I did too, you know. Look, you ain't going to win their trust overnight. You know what I mean? Just keep doing you. Keep doing you. And like, hopefully in 19 years, you'll be the motherfucker sitting up here talking to some other people. Because like for real, man, I am not special, dog. There's nothing fucking special about me, yo. I just did everything that dude told me to do. And he didn't lie to me. He's like, I did this shit, Sean. And now I'm feeling better. And that's as simple as it is. All right, cool.
All right. We're going to go ahead and open the floor for some sharing.